Story. Kings can't put the ball in the ocean. All right. Here's your ball game in a nutshell. Sacramento from three, 8 of 33 for 24%. Minnesota wasn't much better. They're 10 of 33. But here's the difference between the Kings and the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves actually have other ways they can beat you. The Kings don't. And again, that's on full display tonight, Ryan. I'm not going to, rip the team to shreds because what did we say? We would take a 4-2 homestand. They got a 4-2 homestand. And I'm looking at the big picture, and the big picture is good. But this team on the second night at back-to-backs, it's embarrassing. I mean, there's no other way to say it.
Yeah, it's a trend now, Grant. There's no doubt about that. I liked how they fought. This was the first back-to-back of the season where they were down big and then made a run in the fourth quarter. But certainly changes need to be made. It's a personnel issue, not a process issue, in my opinion.
All right, so what changes do you make?
Well, Grant, we always talked about point guard, right? We said the Kings needed a solid backup point guard. I think they still do, but that's going to be secondary to getting the front line secured, upgrading the front line, whether that be bringing in a big man that can stretch the floor. And I know there's not a lot of them, but can stretch the floor and let Domas operate and maybe play a little bit of 4. And then also a guy that can just guard any perimeter guy, 3-and-D, a Kevin Durant, a long body, a Jaden McDaniels, and Anthony Edwards. Though that is what they need.
Again, you have De'Aaron Fox. He does what he does on a nightly basis, although he didn't shoot the ball well from 3, okay? But his shooting guard, once again, is invisible, and that's Kevin Huerter. Kevin Huerter plays 15 minutes, 1 of 7, doesn't make a 3, and has the worst plus-minus of anyone on the floor at minus 19. Again, I like Kevin Huerter. When he's playing well, he's fun to watch. But there are too many games where he just doesn't play well.
Yeah, and he's trying his best. He's trying to get involved. It's just not working. We can't put it any differently. It's just not working this season, and sometimes that happens. But then you don't have somebody coming in behind him. And I know tonight's a little different because Malik was out, but Keon Ellis, I know he's a 1/2. He was minus 14, Grant. So where's that position as a whole?
That's a great question. 23 assists, 11 turnovers tells you all you need to know. And I don't want to hear about no Malik Monk tonight. All right. Guess who didn't play for the Minnesota Timberwolves? Karl Anthony Towns. All right. So I don't want to hear about Malik Monk. Okay. Malik Monk's a big loss. Yes. Karl Anthony Towns is a big loss for Minnesota. And they figured out a way to get the job done without arguably their first or second best player. Okay. So I'm not going there.
Well, they're a different cut of team, Grant. Even without Cat tonight, they were composed. They were never worried. They knew what they needed to do down the stretch, and that's what good teams do.
I mean, we just had a team come in, the Boston Celtics, the other night. They didn't have their very best player in Jason Tatum, and they didn't have the starting center in Al Horford. They didn't make any excuses. They came in and kicked the Kings' ass, all right? So, no Malik Monk, I understand that you want to have Malik Monk. But if Minnesota had been healthy in this game, Karl Anthony Towns, had he played, I would say, that's a good excuse. But not tonight. Not tonight.
Yeah, especially with the way it went on the inside. I mean, you got to remember the first matchup with Minnesota, the Kings took away rebounding to a degree, which is a huge strength for Minnesota. And they let Rudy Gobert have their way for the first half. And that was really tough to get back.
By the way, I also want to add, a home back-to-back is much different than a regular back-to-back. You don't have to get on an airplane. You get to go home and sleep in your own bed. Of course, it is the holiday season, so that could be really distracting. But
is that why Malik sat out tonight, Grant?
Probably. Probably had family over at his house and someone stepped on his foot. But anyway, you have a situation where that shouldn't be that big of a difference. If you're at home, like I'll give you an example. All right. The Kings, was it 2 weeks ago, went to Los Angeles on the second night of a back-to-back. The Clippers had played the night before at home, right? And they came out and Paul George played 40-plus minutes. Kawhi Leonard played almost 40 minutes. And they knocked the Kings' doors off. You know what I'm saying? Like, it shouldn't be
Yeah.
that big of a difference. It's not that big of a deal. When I say we, I'm talking about we in the media and we in the fans make way too much out of this uh, on a home back to back. By home back to back, I mean when you have two games within a 24-hour period of time at home, that's not that big of a deal. I mean, if the Kings had had a day off, they would have been practicing. Now, is practice the same as a game? No, but it's not like they're sitting on their lazy boy chairs. So it's got to get better, Ryan. It's got to get better.
Grant, how much of that has to do with the style of play that the Kings want to do offensively up tempo?
It does, but I also think it's a mindset, and I don't know why it is, but man, it's just so darn frustrating. All right, we got big Knicks fan. I absolutely love those shirts, Grant. Is there any way you could sell a 4 or 5X? I'm a big guy, but I'm going to hit the gym right after the holidays. Right now, if you go to ifyoudon'tlikethat.com and you click on shop, you'll get the link for the new merch. And we do have 4 and 5Xs, don't we?
I would have to check on that, actually. I think it may only go up to 3X. We'll
my
double
bad.
check.
All right,
Yeah.
my bad then. I apologize.
We'll double check.
All right. And as you said, you're going to hit the gym right after the holidays. So good. Maybe by the end of the season, we'll get you. I'll tell you right now, here's what I'm going to do for you. If you're a 5X right now, if by the end of the season you can wear a 3X, it's on me. My gift to you. All right.
That's a good reason to drop a few.
Yes.
There you go.
There you go. There's your inspiration. Mr. Napier, at the end of the season, if you can get into a 3X, I'm going to send you your choice on the merch. You pick out what you want. It's on me. I'm going to send it to you. How about that?
Did you just quasi Christmas shop before the 24th for Mr. Big Knicks fan there?
I know. Says the shop goes up to 5X.
Hey, then it goes up to 5X. I just had to double check.
All right.
Now I would take Grant's deal. That's a much better deal.
My deal is still good, even though it goes up to 5X. All right.
Wow.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, Anthony Edwards is pretty good, isn't he? This one, Anthony Edwards looks like a shooting guard version of LeBron playing the point guard, basically for the Wolves. He's really, really good. I mean, there's no other way to say it. He is really good. He ended up tonight with 34 points. He didn't shoot the ball well from three. You know, no one really shot the ball well from three for Minnesota, really. I mean, they struggled from downtown. I guess Mike Conley was pretty good, 3 of 7. But, yeah, Edwards is good. He's a tough cover, Ryan. He's a tough cover.
Yeah, and expect him to get a lot of run nationally this year. He already does. He's a max guy, but with the Timberwolves having the season they are, and the sky's the limit for him, Grant. He is a young guy, but really showing out for the first pick.
Big Knicks fan. LMAO, you guys are awesome. Thanks, Grant. Hey, Grant, you ready for Christmas? No. I don't need to be ready for Christmas. It's only December 23rd. Christmas is not until December 25th. So, no, I am not ready for Christmas. Does it look like I'm ready for Christmas? Come on now.
You don't strike me as the type that decorates your house, like maybe a week before Thanksgiving. No.
Mrs. Napier did that every year. I didn't have to, So, but I'm not a bah humbug. I get into it, particularly when my kids were younger. I mean, just like most people that celebrate Christmas, I enjoyed it. I'll tell you who else loves to celebrate. That's Bennett's and their 3 locations, Sacramento, Roseville, and their newest restaurant, Bennett's West Side Grill in Rockland. Don't forget about their weekend brunch, their weekend prime rib, 60 different types of wine available by the glass. And again, I want to thank so many of you that have reached out with messages on this forum and others talking about how much you've enjoyed Bennett's. He sees all of these messages. He greatly appreciates it. I appreciate it. And thank you very much for checking out Bennett's. Just go to bennettsrestaurants.com. 110-98, the final. And the Kings now, again, let's look at the big picture here. You had Oklahoma City, you had Boston, you had Phoenix, and you had Minnesota. Now, Phoenix doesn't belong in that group, but I'm putting them in there anyway because they have all-stars in Durant and Booker. Then the other 2 games, which you had to win, and the Kings did, Utah and Washington. We said when we had Jerry Reynolds on, all three of us, what would you take on this road trip? And we all said 4-2. They got 4-2. It doesn't really matter how you got it. They're 4-2, and I got to look at the positives. That's a good homestand.
It is a good homestand, and we also said that it was going to be kind of, especially the last 3 games of the stand, a measuring stick for this Kings team. So where do they measure up, Grant?
They're not, in my opinion, one of the top 5 teams in the NBA. Okay, they're not in the same category as Boston or Milwaukee. Wow. Happy holidays, Lance. Best and most consistent part of the Kings game is if you don't like that pre-halftime post, always top shelf. Thanks, guys. Merry Christmas. Lance.
Thanks, Lance.
Thank you very much.
Man.
Greatly
Merry
appreciate
Christmas,
you.
my friend.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
Wow is right. That is a wow. Maybe I am ready
Very
for Christmas now. Okay.
Oh boy, you might bust out the elf on the shelf.
Ryan's gift to me, by the way, is he's giving me double publicity tonight by having my Twitter handle on his page. So that's Ryan's way of saying, Napes, Merry Christmas. I'm giving you extra exposure tonight. I like that, buddy.
Yeah, it's kind of your birthday too. You didn't know that yet because I'm wearing your shirt as well. So
yeah,
we're all taken care of.
Yeah. All right. So back to where I was at Lance. Thank you very much. Your donation is phenomenally appreciated. All right. The Kings aren't better than Boston. They're not better than Milwaukee. In my opinion, they're not better than Philadelphia for one reason. The Kings don't have anyone, unless they're going to have Domantas Sabonis put De'Aaron Fox on his shoulders, that can even come close to contending with Joel Embiid. Okay. So I'm going to say the Kings are not in that group of 3. Agree or disagree?
Agree.
Okay.
Not yet. Not yet.
All right. Let's go to the West. Okay. I don't think the Kings could beat Denver in a playoff series. If healthy.
No.
Okay. Can't. My own opinion, I don't think they could beat the Clippers if the Clippers are healthy in a playoff series. And I'm basing this on matchups.
Agreed.
I don't think the Kings would beat New Orleans if the Pelicans were healthy in a playoff series because of matchups. Nope. We just lost you, buddy.
Oh,
now you're back. Go ahead.
Sorry about that. I know Zion's health has been inconsistent, but when the Kings and the Pelicans match up, one team's getting blown out, and it usually varies which team it'll be. This year, it's happened to be the Kings. Yep. So I still think that there might be something there for the Kings.
All right. The team tonight, they played twice. They're 1-1. Each team winning on the other's home court.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion, when healthy, I don't think the Kings could beat Minnesota in a 7-game series because of matchups. I think the games could be close, and I think the Kings would win a couple of games. I don't think they'd win 4 out of 7.
Yeah, when you put it to 4 of 7, I'm with you. I think that has the potential for a 7-game series, though. I do, because when the Kings are playing their A game, Minnesota can't match their style. And Minnesota has been known to squander leagues, and the Kings' way of playing is conducive to making up leads quickly.
Okay, so let's say that I'm right on a couple of them, but not all of them. Okay?
Yep.
So let's say that there are 5 teams in the NBA right now that most of us on this chat would agree are better than Sacramento. Let's just say the Kings are the 6th best team in the NBA. Let's just for sake of our conversation, okay?
Got it.
Then the question is, while you have De'Aaron Fox in his prime and you have Domantas Sabonis in his prime, 2 All-Stars, do you go out and make the bold move either in February, right before the deadline, or when this season ends? Do you roll the dice the way you rolled the dice with the Indiana Pacers when you got Sabonis? That would probably mean parting ways with Keegan Murray. And again, we're just having fun here. I'm just saying, if you want to get, I guess, let me back up for a minute. I'm going to say it this way, Ryan, instead of throwing names in and having people who say I'm saying we need to trade this guy. And I'm not saying that. My opinion, even when the Kings play as well as they can, I don't think this team's going very far in the playoffs because of the style that they play.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think if we're gonna agree there, we also have to agree with the style they play. They could go on a bender if they got hot and they got the right matchups, the right circumstances. They could make some noise. But yeah, and the point you made before, I don't think you make that bold move because the bold move they made before, there was a nuance there. And the nuance was you had two players that are very similar. In this case, with Keegan Murray, let's just put his name out there because that's the name everybody's talking about. Keegan is a different player from De'Aaron. And you look at Keegan's attributes, his attributes are in line with today's NBA and the style of the game that's played. And Keegan's numbers in terms of improvement from year one to year two aren't far off from De'Aaron's. So I think that if you can upgrade without moving that piece,
Yeah, great
certainly
point.
that needs to be done.
I think that's a very solid point. And I'm not like begging Monty McNair to make a deal. The only thing that I really believe Monty McNair needs to do, and I've been talking about this for over a year, is they need a backup point guard, which they don't have. And when I mean that they don't have, I mean they don't have someone that you can rely on. They need that guy that when De'Aaron Fox is not on the floor or when he's hurt, that they can rely on. In my opinion, they don't have that player on the team right now.
I think that's a fair assessment. And if so, yeah. And so I want to put these up really quick. So this is, since we're talking about making moves and what the Kings may do here at the deadline. So here at the bottom by year, we've got the Kings last year and the Kings this year. This is the Kings statistics in wins. Or excuse me, this is, pardon me, yes, this is losses actually.
Yeah, it's losses.
Year over year.
Not
This is
counting
losses.
today.
Not counting today, rolling into today. So this is how the two teams compare. Anything jump off the page to you, Grant, that says, you know what, for this reason, yeah, this is a different team.
Yep.
They need to shake things up.
All right. So we're talking about losses from last year to this year, correct?
Yep. You've got,
All right, so
20.
All right. So I'm looking at the points. They're only averaging 105.8 points in their losses, whereas last year they averaged 112.3 points in their losses. And I'm looking at the overall field goal percentage, which again would translate into fewer points, but points scored is what I'm looking at. What are you looking at?
I'm looking at those two categories and then 3-point percentage as well, because that's where this team specializes, right? And when I'm looking at if the team needs to make a move, I'm looking at the losses, because when the team's at the best, you know, kind of the maximum output they've put on paper to date. So this tells me everything that, yeah, 7 points is significant, especially with how close this Western Conference is.
Yep.
And then some of the other things I've talked all season, the Kings offensive rebounding, much better this year, only 0.4 better in losses.
Yep.
And so there's maybe, Grant, we've got the shades on where we're hanging on to these little improvements because they're improvements in an area that was so bad, as opposed to looking at the bigger picture and saying, well, it's really not that significant.
That's a very good point. I think if you're going to compare this team to last year's team, quite frankly, I like last year's team better than this year's team as we approach Christmas. Okay. Now that could change because I think this team probably has their rosters a little bit better because of the maturation of Keegan Murray and some of the additions, but I don't think this team's playing better overall than last year's team. And I think the word I'm looking for is consistency. I think this team right now is playing, for my liking, too inconsistently.
Well, yeah, we saw that last night, just the overall this season in wins and losses. I can throw that back up there for us to look at again. I mean, it's dramatic, Grant, 25 points. And this was coming into tonight, I want to remind everybody. So that just screams inconsistency. And they're on the up. I mean, they're getting more out of Keegan Murray now, but you can't expect the world from Keegan this season.
No.
So, but again, this is still a good basketball team. And I think that's
Yes,
what
it is.
kind of it leaves us with that little bit of optimism of what we're
Yes.
looking at and what may happen in the near future with this.
Bruce, thank you very much for your donation on the Super Chat. Merry Christmas Eve. I hope you all have a great Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce.
Wish you the same thing. And thank you very much. Well, the other part of, if you want to compare 12 months ago to now, you got to remember something. Last year, De'Aaron Fox did not make the All-Star team. He was added onto the All-Star team because of an injury. There's no ifs,
hold
ands,
on. Hold on. I made that point to you many times before, and you said it's an all-star regardless. So you draw a line.
No, but that's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is that in the eyes of a lot of people, De'Aaron Fox last year was not an all-star because he didn't get selected to the initial all-star team. This year, as we approach January 1st, correct me if I'm wrong, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If De'Aaron Fox is not on the all-star team, they ought to cancel the game. Okay, he's 100% an all-star. So here's the point I'm really trying to get at in a roundabout way. Sacramento right now is 17-11, and in my opinion, De'Aaron Fox is playing as well as he can play. I don't see growth left in his game. I think he's doing it night in, night out. I think that this is where he's at. I don't see any more improvement. I saw what I needed to see in the month of April and in the playoffs against the Warriors, and I've seen that carry off to this year, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So are the Kings, because of that, right now at their peak in terms of how well they can play? Do you think this team can play better than on the W's that we've talked about where they have played well? In other words, do you still see this team getting better as we approach the new year with this personnel, not making trades, with the guys on this team?
I don't know. It's too hard to answer because I think one of the elements we're not talking about with the variance is the fact that this team hasn't been in a lot of games where it's a 1-point game, 2-point game. They've got to make a free throw to win. They've got to get a stop. I mean, Grant, by this time last year, I could remember a handful of moments that the Kings came through in the clutch. De'Aaron in Miami, right, to break the 4-game losing streak. They don't really have those signature moments this year, so I don't know what to make of this team. Whether we've seen their best, because we haven't seen their best in what we consider the toughest situations.
It's a good question, and it's a good point, because it seemed like we were talking about that, all the time last year, right? We were talking about close games.
Mr. Clutch.
Yeah,
De'Aaron
right.
Fox.
Yeah. So is that
not taking anything away?
But yeah. I'm looking at, all right, so De'Aaron Fox this year, for those on the chat, that there's one individual, Matthew, that doesn't think he's an all-star. He's averaging just a whisker under 30 points a game, okay? And he's shooting overall 48.2%, okay, with 6.2 assists. Now, the area that I think he should be able to improve in are free throws. He's at 73%. Yes. He really needs to be an 80% free throw shooter. But I'm looking at his three-point percentage this year, which is 39.8. So we'll call it 40%. And his numbers are about 30 points a game. So, and there's an individual on the chat line that doesn't think he's an all-star this year. Well, I'm sorry. I'm not really sure what criteria you would need to make an all-star team. De'Aaron Fox has got it all. Oh, yeah, and by the way, his team's fourth in a very tough Western Conference.
He's absolutely an all-star. And one thing you're not looking at with his three-point percentage is his attempts. He's taking more attempts this year, and his percentage is higher. Now, if you want to have this conversation about Sabonis, I think there's some meat on that bone to have that argument.
I agree. I think Sabonis last year was having not much. He was having a better season last year than he is this year.
Sabonis needs help. Yeah, he needs help. I mean, you can only play that style of basketball so long. And Grant, I think the difference this year is he seems to be getting pushed around more defensively.
Yep.
And that's causing a lot of the mismatches and the over rotations because they're having to help out of position.
Yep. All right. Again, the Kings lose tonight. I want to thank those of you that have joined us over these months right here on If You Don't Like That. We're grateful. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe if you have not already done so. Also, give us a thumbs up. Hit that like button. It's very easy to do. We would greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much. It's a tough way to go into the Christmas holiday, but I'm looking at the big picture. 4-2 on this homestand. I think the majority of us would have taken that. I'm not so sure Mike Brown privately wouldn't have taken that before these 6 games began.
Yeah, I pretty sure I'm with you. Mike Brown probably would have taken that. And Grant, the reality is they get a little bit of rest until they hit the road again. They don't have terribly difficult matchups right off the bat on the road trip, but you do see Memphis a couple games into that, and they are playing better with Ja Morant. So,
oh boy,
that'll be the next big test. Yes.
Yeah, they beat Atlanta tonight, 3-0 with Ja Morant. Hey, I want to tell you about Calusa Sunrise, and I'm very much looking forward to, I believe his name was Ben, who is going out tomorrow on Christmas Eve to get a tour of Sunrise Landing. 6 models to choose from. No Mellorews, no homeowners. Phase 1 already sold out. So get out there and look at these beautiful homes. Sunrise Landing in Calusa. And again, just go to the website, CalusaSunrise.com. That's CalusaSunrise.com. And this project from Blazona Development. Kings tonight, not able to beat the Timberwolves despite not having Cat. Of course, the Kings were without Malik Monk. And now Sacramento hits the road for 3 games. And the team that we were just talking about, they play them on New Year's Eve. They play the Memphis Grizzlies, who have found new life with the return of Ja Morant.
It looks like a different team on the basketball court, just spirit-wise. They are energized. And, hopefully Ja Morant can make the most of this third chance.
What's that?
Make the most. It's his third chance now, right? With the commissioner, third chance.
Third chance.
So hopefully he can make the most of that.
All right. So here are your games coming up. Portland, right, on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. Then you go from Portland to Atlanta. You have the Memphis Grizzlies to wrap up that 3-game road trip. And then you come home and play Charlotte, who's got to be a win. Then you have Orlando, who's been they're very good this year. Then Toronto, then New Orleans. And then comes that mammoth road trip that I've been talking about a lot. At Detroit, got to be a win. At Charlotte has to be a win. Then you have at Philadelphia, at Milwaukee, and at Phoenix. So there you got a good chance to go 3-2 on that road trip. But first things first, end this new year on a positive with road wins at Portland, maybe Atlanta, maybe Memphis. But, the Kings have played pretty well on the road. There are no back-to-backs, right, that I'm looking at. There are no back-to-backs. So there's no excuse. Go out and play well on the road.
Yeah, no, the nasty stretch is the Philadelphia Milwaukee turn. That's a Friday through Sunday. That's going to be a tough trip for them. But we've seen the Kings rise to the occasion. I mean, Grant, this first little spurt right after Christmas on the road, that's got to be 3-0. 3-0.
You think so? Really?
Yeah. Looking at it, I mean, Portland certainly should be a win with this team sitting at 4th West. Atlanta should be a win. And Memphis, I know Ja's back. I know we're saying he's playing well and that team's energized, but that's a game the Kings should get. That's not a great team as they set before Ja Morant came back.
Well, they just beat New Orleans in New Orleans with Morant. The other aspect, Kings historically
before Ja came back.
No, that was Ja's first game back at New Orleans when he hit the game winner at the buzzer. He had 34. That was his first game back of 3, right?
Yeah, that was his first game back. I was just saying Memphis was not a good team before.
Oh, no. Absolutely. No, 100% correct. And the Kings, just for whatever reason, over the long history, have not played well in Atlanta. And then here's the trip that I'm always looking at. And again, I don't like to go this far ahead, but I'm doing it just to set the table. Beginning on the 25th of January, at Golden State, at Dallas, at Memphis, at Miami, at Indiana, at Chicago, at Cleveland.
Brutal.
Yep.
Brutal. And
Absolutely.
you've got some of those games in between there, like Cleveland, a team that's not playing great this year, but can still be dangerous.
Yep. Very much so.
And Golden State, we can't say that they don't still have the Kings number just
No, they
because the
do.
Kings won one game on their home court against them.
All right. I want to wish everyone out there a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holiday. Rhino, thank you very much for all of your work. Enjoy this weekend with your family. And I guess we'll be right back at it the day after Christmas when the Kings take on the Blazers.
I can't wait. Grant, thank you so much. And all of you out there watching, thank you guys. And thank everybody that tuned in last night, over 20K of you. We appreciate your support so much. And happy holidays and happy holidays, Dave.
Yeah, thank you. And for those of you around the world that spend, 30 to 60 minutes during game days, we love you. The fact that we have people up all hours of the night, we have people up early in the morning from different parts of the globe. We really appreciate that. And the people in Sacramento, you loyal Kings fans that are with us day in, day out, win, lose, you still want to give your thoughts. We greatly appreciate that. So thank you. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. And you better believe that we appreciate the heck out of each and every one of you. Merry Christmas, everybody. Tonight's not the night for the Kings. The beam not lit, but it was lit 4 out of 6 times on this road or in this homestand. And I don't know about you, but I'll take that, especially against the caliber of competition.